Hello YouTube and welcome back to What the Math. Today we're doing IB Math Studies Chapter 11, specifically a topic called chi-squares test of independence. Now this is actually a relatively challenging topic, but I'm not going to scare you yet. We'll just talk about it in detail, specifically starting with one topic. What is chi-squares and why it's important? And so what is chi-square? What is this test of independence that we're talking about? Well, basically let's look at this table. So we have males and females doing exercise regularly or not doing exercise at all. And what we can do is use chi-square to discover, so is there actually a relationship between gender and regular exercise? Now we can actually use this chi-square independence test to find out if there's actually such a thing as gender and exercise dependency. In other words, we're looking for a correlation between gender and exercise or regular exercise. Now, basically, the way we're going to be doing this is by using something that you may have used in science before. This H0 refers to null hypothesis. And this null hypothesis is basically a statement that we're making. And the statement is that we are assuming that there is no relationship between these two, or in other words, that these values are independent. So these two values are independent. In other words, there is no relationship. I'm going to write this in different color. There's no relationship between gender and exercise. So that is our null hypothesis, or in other words, our primary statement. And the purpose of chi-square, and I forgot to mention that chi-square kind of looks like this. It's sort of like a squiggly X, or basically a crooked X with a square on top. This is a test. It's a test to see if this null hypothesis is true or not. So the way it works is, once you find this magical number, and I'll show you how to find it so it's not magical anymore, but once you actually find it, if it's very, very, very small, or if it's relatively small, and there's actually a specific value we'll be looking for, but if it's small, so if chi-square is small, it means that the values are independent. Values are independent, or in other words, that H0, or our null hypothesis, is true. It is true, so there's no relationship between gender and exercise. If, however, it is a large value, and there's a specific number we'll be looking at, but if it's a large value, then the values are dependent. Or our null hypothesis is not true, it's false, it's rejected. We reject our hypothesis, so there must be a relationship between gender and exercise. So let me show you how they did this in the book manually. And we don't actually have to do this manually in math studies, but you may have to do this in university later on. But for now, we're just going to be using our calculator. Now, if you do this manually, just like it is in the book, this is what you'll get. You'll get a table just like this, and this is actually a table called expected values. And what you do is you look at each of the sums of all males, and then sums of regular exercise. You multiply them, you cross-multiply them, so you do 216 times 208, and then you divide them by total number of everything, so divide them by 400. What you'll get for each of the cells is displayed right here, so this value is 112.32, so in other words, we expect there to be 112.32 males to be regular exercising, then there is 95.68 females regular exercising, 103.68 males not exercising, and 88.32 females not exercising. Now, that's expected value. We then compare this, we basically take our expected values, and let's call them FE, that's what they're called in the book, and we subtract them from our observed values. So the value right here before, if you look at it, the value before, it was actually 110. So here it will be 112.32 minus 110. It will then square it, and that's why it's called chi-square. Square it and divide it by the observable value again. And all of this has to be done for each of the cells, so it's actually a sum. So it's a complicated formula. Luckily, you don't have to do this manually. We're not going to be doing this manually. We're just going to be using calculator. So let's actually use the calculator. I'm going to show you how to do this. It's actually a lot of new buttons that we haven't used before. So let's turn the calculator on.